Hey, Jeff here, your YouTube reviewer of New England Brews, and welcome back. If you were watching one of my reviews in December of 2011, you would have noticed that I did a review of a series from Peak Organic of Portland, Maine. It's their local series. In December of 2011, I did a review of their Vermont Pale Ale. Well, today I'm going to do a review of their Massachusetts Pale Ale. Peak Organic out of Portland, Maine put out a series of beers, 4 different beers using ingredients from the state that is listed on the label. So they put out beers, pale ales, using the exact same recipe, but just using local ingredients from those states. And so they put one out for Massachusetts, they put one out for Vermont, they put one out for New York State, as well as Maine, of course. They are from Maine. So I'm going to review the one from Massachusetts using the Massachusetts ingredients. Now basically the Peak Organic Local Series, the ABV is supposed to be exactly the same. So I'm going to say the ABV on this is 6.9% ABV. And as I mentioned, they have used the exact same recipe, but using ingredients from those states, which I think is a kind of interesting concept, quite frankly. Although the beers are supposed to taste exactly the same, but they might just have a certain slight characteristic that you might pick up because the way the ingredients are grown or harvested or whatever in the state that they come from. Now, I'm not sure if my palate can really distinguish between hops and malts from, Massachusetts and Vermont and Maine, but maybe I can, I don't know. We'll give it a shot and see. But anyway, this ABV is 6.9%, as I said, and I'm going to get right into this Massachusetts Peak Organic. Now, again, this has the foil cap, which is never a big fan of mine. I'm not really a big fan of, I should say. I'm always afraid I'm going to get foil in the thing, so anyway. Alright, let's break off the cap and see how she goes. See if I can do this without getting anything in there. I think I'm going to be successful. Getting a good amount of a little smokiness here. You might be able to see it or not, and if you look close enough you might see a bit of foam building up at the top of the bottle. And now I'm going to pour this in such a way so it comes out on the side that does not touch the foam. And I'm pouring it into a Shipyard glass. Shipyard is another brewery from Maine, so why not? Though I suppose I should have done one from Massachusetts just to kind of be in the spirit of the beer that they are brewing here today. So, giving it a pour. There it is. Alright, let me put this up here so you might be able to see it. Okie dokie. I don't know if you can see that or not. But anyway, this has definitely got a lot of aroma going on. The color is quite nice. It's a medium amber with a copper color to it, a decent sized head. Which seems to be lingering a little bit. Lots of carbonation going up the glass. Quite a carbonated beer. Pretty steady, those mellow sort of floaty bubbles that kind of float right up the glass. And it's kind of the way I like to see my beer bubbling. I don't like to see it going crazy like it's in a whirlpool or something like that. I like to see this kind of relaxed floating upwards, and that's what I'm getting in this beer. So let's check out the aroma. As I mentioned a minute ago, the aroma was quite obvious in the bottle itself before I even poured it. And I like beers that really bring out that aroma in the bottle, and then when you pour it into the glass, you get the full sensation. So, and I'm going to say, I'm getting malts. Lots of malts on this. But that makes sense because it is a pale ale. So I'm getting a nice malty character with a type of almost slightly fruity character. And I can't pin down what type of fruit it is. Now, quite frankly, the last time I had one of these local series was a few months ago, and I don't quite remember if this smells exactly like the one from Vermont smelled. But I like the aroma on this. It's got a nice malt character. It's got a nice sweet character. It's very, very sweet. And I do remember that about the Vermont brew. It was quite a sweet brew. So, let's check out the taste. Wow. Now, I probably should have waited on the Vermont one and had it during a Memorial Day weekend or some nice near summer or late spring beer, because this is definitely the kind of beer you want to drink in a nice warm day to go with your barbecue or something like that. But getting into details, I'm getting a character, a body that's fairly smooth and actually fairly creamy, more smooth than creamy. Creamy has a kind of a way to coat the tongue, at least in my opinion, whereas smooth is just something that's just not overly bitter, overly tart, overly sour. It's just kind of really kind of mellow, you know, on the tongue and in the throat. So the taste on this, though, it's a really nice pale. I mean, it really has all the characteristics you come to expect in a pale ale. It has this nice malty character. The hops are kind of laid back. I mean, they're there. They're coming up sort of on the tail end a little bit. But they're not taking over the beer. I mean, this is really geared toward the malts and the sweetness and the smooth creaminess. So, you know, this is a really pleasant beer. I mean, this is really a pleasant beer to go with a barbecue or with a nice meat meal or something like that. A good session beer. And, you know, there's a cleanliness about this, a nice freshness about it going on as well. But again, I do notice this really vague, you know, fruity character. And I think the closest fruit I can liken it to is probably maybe cherry, black cherry. But that doesn't seem right. I mean, you'll get more of a cherry sensation when you're drinking, you know, a stout or something like that. But there is a kind of, you know, a citrusy fruit aroma. But it's not tart at all. Not sour, not tart, like a lot of citrus-based flavors tend to be. They can be really tart and almost make you pucker up. And this is just sort of subtle. It's kind of glistening across the background of the beer. So, a really well-balanced beer. The head, although it's shrunk down a little bit, is still, you know, fairly there, fairly, you know, predominant, and doesn't seem to be going down to a ring. It just seems to be lingering in there. And I like to say this every once in a great while. I'm getting a good belch factor. I've been kind of holding back these burps, but I gotta say, I am getting a bit of a belch factor. And it's good to have a beer that kind of makes you belch, I suppose. I mean, you want to enjoy the beer for its flavors, for its malts, for its grains, for its hops and its sugars and all that. And, you know, sometimes belching can be rather rude, although good beer drinkers will say, nah, I don't care. It's all part of the drinking process, you know? Now, I gotta say, there's a slight yeast character, and but that's really subtle. I'm definitely getting more of this really vague fruitiness. And like I said, cherry maybe, and that doesn't seem quite right. Cranberry? No, nothing like that. Boysenberry? I don't know. But there's this kind of a, you know, a berry type fruit that's just kind of lingering around the backside as the malts hit you up front and the hops smooth it out on the end. I mean, this is really a well-balanced beer. And I did like the Vermont beer, you know, Vermont series, and I really think that this one is just quite as good. And you know, this one comes from Massachusetts, so I mean, cranberries maybe, that makes some sense. They have all kinds of cranberry operations in Massachusetts, the home of Ocean Spray, I think. So maybe there's a slight cranberry, you know, ester going on here. That would make sense because it ties into Massachusetts. But anyway, it's really a good beer. I would highly recommend it, and I would actually recommend all of the beers in this series. And I would, you know, give it a shot if you can check it out or find it or something. But anyway, that is the Peak Organic Massachusetts Local Series. Thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you again next time.